Dude, that was epic. That's one of my favorite videos on the internet. It's like an entire office with that going on every screen.
Shout out to Badfish. Badfish was like, dude, you got to do like a thing like for new this week. And I was like, for like an hour or two, I was rewatching the movies and like just scrubbing through like quotes, like what would make sense, and
nailed it.
It ended up being just that. So I'm going to introduce this figure, and then I'm going to let Dean and John and Ben talk about it, because I have a lot to say. Obviously, that's what a lot of people are here for. But I want to make sure that there's meat on the bone for the boys here. So, Asmus Gandalf the White, $380 with Shadowfax, available for immediate release.
You're not showing anything on the screen.
I know.
Oh.
Here we go. So I'll let you guys, I'll cycle through a few of these photos, whomever wants to lead us off. And when you guys are ready for me to take it to the spin zone, you let me know.
Bro, when you started posting these, I legitimately thought this was Queen.
In art? So did I.
I thought it was the in art, because I was like, oh, well, they said they were going to do it. And this sculpt is far and away infinitely better than anything Asmus has ever done Gandalf-wise. And then I started looking at Shadowfax, and I was giving it a good roast. And then I was like, wait a minute. This isn't in art at all. This is fucking Asmus. And totally blew me away. But like I said, it wasn't until I got to the horse that I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. Asmus kind of, goofed a little bit. But as far as the Gandalf is concerned, holy shit. It completely blew me away. I think this is fucking fantastic. The price point with Shadowfax, insane. Because 6-scale horses are not cheap by any means. Yeah, I think it looks fantastic. I'm sure Zach is going to completely change my mind here in a minute. But holy shit. Caught me off guard. I think it looks great.
I don't want... Go ahead, Ben. I don't want to... I want Zach... I don't know what to say.
I think, John, a lot of what you have to say is 100% valid. I think what you've pointed out is exactly the issues that I have.
I sit back...
And I have photos. I have photos that we can discuss if you want to kind of save it for a few minutes.
I do. I do, but I want you to think about something. I don't want to shit on anything because I know how excited you are for this. So I don't want to...
I could take it.
I don't want to be that guy. But at the same time, I sit here...
I think it's important... I'll say this, John.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me clarify one thing. I've always said, as of late, do not pre-order. And I think that advice holds true for most things. But when you have a figure that's available for immediate release, it means one of two things. One, the company has just released something very similar, so they have a size, a market reference for how many they should make.
Yeah.
Or two, it's going to be very limited. And in this case, it's been going in and out of stock quite a bit. So I think lately our channel, for better, a lot of people are looking to us for this Gandalf news. So regardless of how good this figure was or wasn't, I felt a little bit of personal responsibility that we need to order it. At least have one person on the channel that would be able to give some thoughts, right? With that being said, when I ordered it, I did have a lot of concerns. Now, some of those concerns have since been unfounded now that we've seen a little bit more photos. But there are things that aren't great, right? There are 100% things that are not great. So with that being said, John, if you have anything, you can say it. You're not going to hurt my feelings, because I think that's why people come to this channel. We give some honest feedback. Sometimes it's against the grain, but I think as a package, a lot of good. I think there's a lot of stuff that could be done better though.
So I'm gonna. I know I extended it to Ben. I'll say quick because then Ben can go and then you take your part and then I'll go. But I just want to say, I look at this and I think and it's not to do a comparison with InArt, but I know InArt's gonna come up here because I already see it in the chat. People need to reconsider InArt, and I think it's nuts to make a statement like that. But I think that when InArt first showed Gandalf, the amount of comments that InArt got in regards to inaccuracies with the staff and the portrait and this and that and the hair and then I think Asmus is showing this, and I'm not a huge Gandalf like fanatic. You're definitely more experienced than me, Zach. Dean's probably even more experienced than I am, but I can see the inaccuracies. And I feel worse than what InArt had put out, and just the community blankets it over. Even when I was putting it in the chat, it's just like you don't hear one thing. But then when InArt had come out, it was pitchfork time. That's where I get like, back to the wall, and it's like, okay, should I even bother with an opinion? Because it's in one ear out the other.
I
Do you
think
think that has to do with price, John? Sorry to cut you off, Zach.
Well,
no, I don't think it's a price thing.
Ben, price will go back to my comment with Kurt Cobain. You want to pay $300 for a likeness of Kurt Cobain that you're not going to get anywhere else, or do you want to pay a little bit less and get a half-ass product? Not to say that this is half-ass, but you know where I'm getting at, right? A lower-end product. For me, I would want the best representation in the collection.
I completely agree, and I think the thing that is a very quantifiable difference here, John, is when InArt showed us the Gandalf, it was a very early prototype, right? They showed it to us, and there wasn't a lot of time, because obviously with the staff thing, we really had to force the hand on that one, but it was certainly enough time that changes could be made, right? Whereas with Asmus, they showed it to us at SDCC, and then last week we saw the staff, and by that point, if you think about the way the logistics work, by that point they're boxing it up to send it out the door. So we didn't really have time to give that feedback. Yeah. I completely agree, though. They've ran into this issue with the hats, right? They didn't get the hats right, and they had to go back and at their own expense send out many hundreds of hats, right? And we'll talk about. I know which two areas I think you're leaning towards. I have photos of both of those, and I'm 100% in agreement with you there. But I just think that with this figure, the way that they did it, there wasn't a lot of time for public comment or discussion. It was like, this is what it is. You're either going to order it or you're not. And I don't think that's the best way to do it, but it's certainly different in 1/6 scale.
I think it was great to do it. Not necessarily because of... what I liked that they did was they put out the announcement and it's available right away. Boom, you can order it right away. The excitement
that blew
there,
my mind.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. But there are a lot of inaccuracies here that need to be addressed, and we need to hold it to the same standard, because I wouldn't hold it to the same standard, but then I read comments and I hear, well, I got to reconsider my InArt one, and it boggles my mind.
I would say objectively, well, let me say this. Let me say this first. The way that they've shown us the Gandalf, like the last two times we've seen it physically, not in like a photo booth, but like in person, so to speak, I think that figure looks worse than this in terms of the robe, the way the robe fits, the inaccuracies with the beard. That figure needs a lot of work, and we clarified with John, Queen Studios John, that they're clarifying what they've meant by the factory has made this with final. They've released some very confusing answers to some of our questions, so they're clarifying what exactly.
They're a
that
write-off
is.
for me. They're a write-off publicly right now. They're marketing, and they're John's a write-off for me right now. I think he's gotten too deep, and now he's trying to dig himself out, and it's too late.
So which inaccuracies?
I want to Ben. Let's do. Let's.
Okay.
I want you to share like your excitement and stuff, and I don't want this to be like a whole negative segment. Just things that little things that I'm even surprised my eyes picked up, because, like I said, I'm not into this as much as you guys are, but little things that caught my eye. So if you want to go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
No worries at all. It was all really interesting stuff. I'll be quick because I'm not going to pretend to be nearly the fan that Zach is for sure. When I close my eyes and think of Gandalf the White, this definitely nails my mind's eye perspective. Now, that's without having seen the movie for a couple of years now. I think this still looks significantly improved over their Gandalf the Grey version, especially around the eyes. They've really improved the face and the eyes portion. I always thought he looked a little zombie-fied in the previous iteration, so for that, I applaud them. I think that they're going in the right direction. At least with Asmus, we've had releases in hand from them before, so we already have an idea of somewhat level of quality to expect. And now I think this looks better than some of their previous offerings, so that gets me excited that Asmus is definitely moving in the right direction when it comes to their Lord of the Rings figures. It is disappointing that we couldn't get ahead of it potentially like we did with Gandalf the Grey for InArt with some maybe feedback and suggestions. But as we've noted before, that's also a really slippery slope. And I'm not totally sure a lot of companies are cut out for that level of feedback and change once a product is already somewhat in production, right? Because that costs money. That type of pivot might be really challenging. When I first look at this figure, again, I think that it looks really improved over the Gandalf the Grey. It doesn't talk me out of my purchase of InArt Gandalf the Grey because even though it's the same character, I think of them as two different versions. So if you want a Gandalf the White and you want a Gandalf the Grey, this shouldn't necessarily detract from your want of the Grey, especially if that's your favorite iteration of Gandalf. I would say that this guy looks a little bit tanned, at least in the pictures. Like, he looks really dark-skinned, especially in this particular photograph. I remember him looking a little bit more red, almost like sunburnt in the film, but not necessarily like dark tan. And Shadowfax, I did pull up some images of Shadowfax. The horse definitely has a bit of a rough chop mane for sure. But this one looks a little bit like my 10-year-old sister took her scissors to the hair and just kind of cut it off, like sheared off, which I think looks a little off-putting. I feel like that could have used a little bit of rework. But nothing that maybe somebody with a skilled pair of scissors can't tune up a little bit and fix, potentially. So we'll see.
So let me say a couple of things there. Because I know you're going to go, I want you to have the passion in the conversation, and then I don't want to go after that. With me, here's what I'm going to say good about Asmus. I think Asmus stepped up to the plate better than Hot Toys when it comes to a business perspective and reacting to the competition of InArt. I think Asmus has stepped up to the plate tenfold compared to Hot Toys. They've come out, they've given us a better, like you guys said, a better Gandalf than their Grey. Nice base. The whole concept for the price point is there, and I think they did a great job there. The rooting, I think, is done very well. Was executed very well. Not necessarily on Fax Machine, but on Gandalf. Not even one laugh. That was good, man.
That was pretty good. I think you meant to say shrink ray, but not fax machine.
Remember I said shadow fax machine?
Oh, that's good, John. That's fucking good. You threw it in a little too slick. I thought you were saying fax machine because Marco commented.
No, I didn't.
Sorry, I'm missing out on the fun tonight. Just finishing a painting I'm doing for Ben.
No. The tailoring looks, to my eye, I'm like Ben. To my eye, it looks fine.
This penis?
Here's the other few things. Shadowfax looks like it's about to take a nosedive. That's one negative. The hair on Shadowfax, the way it was cut, you're going to need some futzing there because that's atrocious. But overall, as a horse, as the animal, it looks good. Now with the Gandalf, I'm sure you're going to show some photos afterwards. I'm not a fan of how they executed his boots compared to how it was done in the film.
Yes.
He does look very tan, so we got to get that cleared up. And do the pipe.
Say that one more time. You were breaking up just a
Sorry,
little bit.
did they include a pipe as an accessory for him?
They did not, and that's on my list of accessories that should have come with this. He smokes a pipe, I think, once in the film as Gandalf the White, but I think it would have been an easy inclusion.
Yeah,
to be honest.
With Pippin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the wizards wizards.
And I know we were discussing the other day, I think it was yesterday, the second staff. We're gonna start a second staff brigade here.
That one's a toughie, though. That's a toughie because it really depends what cut of the film you watch. So what John's referring to, just for
both characters, well, you go into it. Okay, go.
For the uninitiated, in the extended edition, the Witch King destroys Gandalf's staff, and throughout the film, from that point on, which is fairly early in the film, he doesn't have a staff. It's not until he's seen in the Greyhaven scene that he has the same staff, or if you watch the extended cut, a different staff. Technically, it's... Here, let me see if I can pull it up. The prop is actually a little bit taller of a staff, and so that's... I kind of joked about it last night with on the stream, but John's saying it should have come with both. I don't disagree.
It
but
should
it's
have,
also
just
like,
for the completionist,
like,
right?
Yeah, yeah. Let's see if I can't find the comparison photo.
I think the staff, this staff they gave us is more than half-ass. I think it's the worst part of this figure is this staff.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think it was. Well, I'm sure we'll see some photos afterwards. Asmus, even on their box art, the staff is different on their box art than the product they actually gave us.
Atrocious. So this is this difference here. It's just like in 6 scale, this might be a quarter of an inch.
That's
it's
fine.
the
But
same exact staff.
You could have said that for the in-art one. All they did was add a little crystal. Same thing. It's
well, that's totally different.
It's different because it seems
completely different. This is like the same shape and size. It's just like a tiny.
The way I see it, if I'm a connoisseur of Lord of the Rings, and all it takes is just to add a little bit, another staff, a little longer, just give it to us. But I think they failed on the staff. I think the base looks great, and my favorite thing about this release is the packaging.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I think
John,
that's going to be such an unboxing experience. It's going to be beautiful. That's the foam I wanted to see. That's the foam I think we should see on all releases at the price points we're paying.
Premium.
Yeah, so I think they did well there, but she needs some work, in my opinion. It looks like my grandmother's tablecloth, that white.
Well, it is supposed to be like
I know. No.
So, first and foremost, I did want to clarify something. We uploaded last night the Asmus unboxing, which I'm going to play for you right now, with permission of Asmus. Now, we are not affiliated with Asmus in any way. I paid my own money for the figure. It should, in theory, be here Friday, and So there's no kickback. Asmus just asked me to put the link to their video and their final product in the description, but we are not affiliated with Asmus by any means. So the critique that we're giving now is not affected by Asmus, nor will the critique that I give if it arrives Friday when we do our unboxing. It will 100% be a genuine reaction. So let's watch this unboxing if YouTube will play nice with us tonight. And I want you guys to take note of the way the horse Shadowfax is arranged in the box. And I mentioned this to Dean when he had some critique, which we'll bring up here in a second. But I think that the way that Shadowfax is posed has a lot to do with the fact that they needed to fit him inside this box. So we'll play this, and we'll touch base with you guys.
Q-tip.
The grass work is beautiful there.
Let's see ya.
That's a good one, dude.
Looks like
That's
Tyler,
a
the creator
deep
in the earthquake video.
Feel like I'm at the Mandarin, Ben.
Jesus Christ! So
I'm suddenly
there's that.
starving.
Let me,
I like the little foam cutout of the horse.
Beautiful.
By the way. That was stunning.
Packaging, they demolished the packaging on any 6-scale figure release.
Dude, this
Well,
is what
that's a big-
this is what that
maybe
horse
not.
looks like, bro. Like a cut, G. Okay, so let me get into this just a little bit. A few things first. It's important to note that look at what we got here. If he loads
What's going on, Joe?
It's important to note a few things before we talk about this. first and foremost, all of these photos that we're showing here, and I got Mark with me tonight, all of these photos here are final product photos. So these are not prototypes. All of the solicitation photos are of final product quality, which is important because I have a 3-week-old question with InArt that they're still trying to figure out what exactly was shown to us in Las Vegas and the recent event in Asia.
Yeah, they showed you 3 different figures.
There is no moving eyes on this figure. So that was an issue that plagued the Gandalf the Grey figure. There are no moving eyes. The eyes are stationary in the head. It also does not include Narya, the Ring of Power. That was a decision from the licensor. They mentioned that it was not present in the film enough to warrant inclusion with the figure.
Yeah, it's only
and again,
one scene.
Yeah, again, that's with the licensor. And John, I think that may be...
Can I say really quick? Somebody commented that on their post, Asmus's post, like, "Where's no?" And you fucking shut them down so ugly. Dude.
What did I say? I was like, it's invisible,
like,
just like in the film.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Bro, I was like, God damn, Zach fucking buried this.
Oh yeah, I remember reading
It was
that.
fucking awesome, dude. I just wanted to point that out.
Now, I will say, though, for what it's worth, I 3D printed 1/6 Gunnaria, so if anyone needs one,
Yeah.
they look
But
beautiful on the figure.
Zach did point that out to me like a month or so ago, because I asked him, I was like, "Hey, Gandalf is wearing the ring clearly at the end of the film when Aragorn gets crowned," and I was like, "How come I'd never seen that before?" He's like, "Well, it's invisible, it's hidden all the time, and it doesn't take that."
Until the ring was destroyed, that's when it became.
Right. And so I was like, okay, I had no idea. That's such a cool fact. So that now makes perfect sense to why it's not on any of the figures. So thank you, Zach.
Yeah. So, Mark, if you will allow me, I'm going to run through some things on this figure, and then, of course, I'd love to hear your take. Just for like 2 seconds, though. Look at how good this 1/6 Gunnaria looks that I 3D printed. These will be available, by the way. Holla at your boy. Okay, so in addition to what we've said, only retailers that carried Gandalf the Grey crown will be able to order this figure from Asmus. So it doesn't matter if you as a collector have ordered Gandalf the Grey. That's not what they're excluding. Only a retailer that has ordered the Grey will get it. So 1/6 Kit has said they're not able to get it. But then some people are saying that they did get their Gandalf the Grey from 1/6 Kit, so I'm not sure what the drama is with that. Also, a lot of people are complaining that this is the price point of $400, $380 rather, that this is a new normal price point for Asmus, and Asmus has confirmed that this is indeed not a normal price point, and that their upcoming Boromir figure will be less than $200. With that out of the way, I think this figure has a lot of great things going for it. I think a lot of the critiques that John has are 100% valid. I think the critique that Dean has with the horse is valid as well, with the pose. I think that, unfortunately, is a side effect of boxing this in with Gandalf. I think they had to lower the horse's head just a touch to get it to fit in that box. If you look at the unboxing, it's right there at the top. I think that's an unfortunate sacrifice. But to be honest, with them together, I don't think the eye line is bad. And so I think it works for me. The mane, to me, is the worst part of this set. I think it can be futzed. But I have no idea why they parted it down the middle. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's got a 90s bowl cut look to it. You know, kind of like a My Little Pony type deal. So
yeah, I don't like it.
Definitely needs a futzing. I feel like it needs to be longer from what I saw.
Yeah,
but
and so I think the issue with the tone, I think I'm a little less concerned about. I think that's a white balance issue. They showed some photos of like a bunch of the portraits kind of lined up, and I'm not particularly seeing that skin tone being an issue. I think you have an all white figure, and you have a dark room. I think something is going to pick up and kind of divert the camera's color there. But of course, Friday we'll know that for sure. And I certainly think that John is 100% right. I think the shoes are probably on the figure itself. I think those might be the worst parts. So let's kind of go through some of these things here. This photo is also kind of funny. I don't know why they included this photo. This to me highlights how bad I think that white balance really was. But we'll definitely have some thoughts for you guys hopefully this week. Now, this is the photo that they showed on their Facebook page. Again, as I mentioned, they have like, many of these portraits that they're boxing up to be ready to ship. And so they snapped an in-hand photo of the quality you can expect. And to me, the color tone looks right here. I think it was Ben mentioned he's a little bit more red than tan. And I think this certainly looks that
This looks
way.
better. 100%.
They also fixed the mustache with Gandalf the Great. It's like they had this mustache rooted, and at the last second, someone's like, "Hey, let's just go in with a one of these bad boys and just trim it straight." This looks much better to me. I think the rooting is excellent. I think Asmus has proven, at least with the crown gray figure, that they know how to root a figure's hair and a figure's beard. And so the fact that they've done this to this quality, I think, is very, very impressive. And I'm really glad that they didn't go with the moving eyes, because like I mentioned, the sclera color, the whites around the eyes, as well as the movement of the eyes was a big detractor from the last figure. So this to me looks great. It's a very stern portrait, which you really like to see. And I think flesh tone wise, I think the crown Gandalf is a very flat paint application. It's very gray, which Hot Toys does a lot. To me, this shows a lot of improvement on Asmus's quality. And like John said, they stepped up to the plate. They had a major competition, and I think they've done quite well here. This photo here again, just showing the size between Gandalf and Shadowfax. I was a bit concerned that they were packing this in. I was worried it would be like a pony-sized figure, pony-sized horse, and I'm not seeing that here. So this is a huge improvement over other white 1/6 scale horses, because I bought a Mr. Z Stallion in white, and it just looks like a white horse. Shadowfax has some distinct features. I think they've managed to do that quite well here, and it's really just that mane, because the horse is polystone, right? So it's not posable. It's a very detailed, heavy piece. It's really just the soft part of the horse that's the problem. And I think with the little futzing, take it to the hair salon, pay the lady $20, get it fixed. I don't think it's going to really be the end of the world there. Now, here's a look there at Shadowfax. Like I mentioned, I really think they gave it a good attempt at making this horse at least appear somewhat like the horse in the movie. The mane is quite choppy, and I think they've gotten that look quite right. But yeah, I think
they didn't put any effort into making it look, but at least they show you what you're getting out of the box. But
I think it needs a little bit of futzing. Now, this is what John is mentioning here with the staff. So it's a really weird exclusion. Like John said, the silhouette of this staff, you can't see my mouse, which is really annoying, but the silhouette, oh, there you go. The silhouette of the staff, it kind of tapers in here to a point and then tapers again. If you look at the one on the figure, it almost looks like it would, but it doesn't
like
quite.
waxy.
Yeah, it doesn't quite taper.
It almost
there.
looked like they melted it or something. Like
Yeah,
they
it's
had
like
it
sharper.
perfect, and then they melted it.
Yeah, so that is certainly a concern there. Unfortunately, it looks like they may not be correcting this issue.
Even just to mention, even the curvature of the top, how it's rounded and it doesn't taper towards the end, and the tips. The tip looks like it wasn't measured appropriately. It looks like it was, snipped or something. Look. You can see
So with this photo here, I was really concerned with the top of the staff, but all the ones that they showed in hand, but like through these photos, didn't look like that. But I will certainly be paying close attention to that on the unboxing. And then with the horse, Dean mentioned it was leaning too far forward. Horses do kind of lean like this sometimes. I did a little video that I showed Dean that it's not perfect, but it's certainly they usually hold their head much higher, like the neutral pose, I guess you could say, for a horse. But you could find some horse side views that look pretty close to this, but I think it looks a bit jarring, and I think that's because, as I mentioned, the way that they box this in, I think they had to kind of lean him just a little bit more far forward than I think is natural to our eyes.
But horse, like a lot of horses it's weird though to say this, but a lot of horses that you ride and stuff like that, they're used to being tied up and stuff. So they kind of naturally sit like the Amish, their buggy horses are like that. But then again, he is the lord of all horses, and he doesn't wear a saddle. You know what I mean? He chooses the rider, so it's kind of like it's a weird thing. But then also, I don't know if they were kind of going for the scene where like he goes up and like he brushes him. You know what I mean? Like when he calls him over. Because and plus they didn't show you a picture of him riding him, which I kind of wanted to see what that looked like. But I don't know how many people are actually going to do that.
I will do that for the unboxing because I think that's a way that I would like to pose it. So this is the video I sent Dean. So I mean, it's not a totally like unrealistic pose. It's just a bit too far down. It
I
doesn't
just think
look.
the legs are too.
It's the
far
legs are too
back.
tucked in. Yeah.
Yeah, look how much
Okay.
further the legs are forward, like on the chest of the horse.
So the good thing about this is I have 2 horses and 1 6 scale, so I'll compare those as well if there's any interest in that. But yes, I will be covering that as well. Now, next thing, the boots. I think John is right on the money there. I think it's not even the laces, because I have no problem with 1 6 scale laces being goofy. Hot Toys makes them goofy. Every third-party company I've ever seen makes them goofy. I don't think laces belong on a 1 6 scale figure. I think you always sculpt the laces, in my opinion. My bigger issue is that this appears, at least from this photo, it appears to be a suede, but it should be a leather or like a pleather type material. So that's really one of my main issues. Like I guess you could say with Gandalf in general, you don't necessarily see the shoes that much, but I think the material here is the issue for me. And it's kind of hard, right? If they would have gone with like a plastic boot with laces sculpted, you'd have a really shitty ankle articulation like the Sideshow one does. Or if you had a boot cut, then you have a something that breaks the sculpt that doesn't look particularly good. So I think the way they did it isn't the best solution, but all the solutions aren't particularly good. But to get them fitted like that, Viper did do it pretty well on his figure, but his was also, I think, $800 and a handmade. Like he made every single part of every single figure that was released. So, yeah, that is certainly, I think, one of the worst parts of this figure. But we'll highlight that on the unboxing. Now, John, we always talk about when these companies make a 2.0 of a figure, and you had this issue with Hot Toys recently, right? It needs to be justified, right? There needs to be a quantifiable increase in quality. And so the figure on the left is Asmus's first Gandalf the White, the figure I used to own. The figure on the right, the final product version, rather. And the figure on the right is their newly released one. And I certainly think in a few years they've made a quantum leap in quality. The figure on the left, even back then, was panned almost universally for the quality of the portrait. The outfit wasn't particularly good. It had all this weird, like, gray marks throughout the, instead of, like, texture woven in, it was just, like, printed fabric. It was really bad. And I am actually actively trying to buy one of these for my comparison. So if you have one and you would sell it for dirt cheap, let me know, because I want to compare all parts of the figures together.
You might have to search on eBay for Moses or something, because I don't think a lot of people
What
know
in the
Moses.
fuck is that supposed to be Gandalf?
Yes.
That's
terrible.
crazy.
Yeah. So
is
again, like when
crazy.
we're talking about how good a company can get in a few years, like, I mean, this is a quantum leap there. Now, I think it's also important to look at a more recent figure from Asmus. So the left is the Gandalf crown gray figure. This was after just a little bit of futzing, but you can see that issue with the eyes, right? They're sunken in inside the sculpt there. The material is too thick and the eyeballs sit too far back. And not only that, but I just don't think the skin tone looks super lifelike. It's kind of flat.
Mustache is terrible.
And you see the way the mustache has that cut, like I was saying. Now, to the
Look
right,
at that,
again, this
geez.
is just about 2 years later. This is, again, I think a quantum leap there in their abilities. So I think they should be absolutely commended for the quality that they've put into this release. Now, I think it would go without saying we're going to compare the in-art prototype to the final product of Asmus. And I think there's things that I certainly like about the in-art at the moment, especially compared to Asmus's gray figure. But I actually really like the Asmus figure here on the right as well. I think the tone looks really good. I've always maintained that I think the left, and actually on some of the groups, some people agreed as well that the left kind of just looks like other actors with a beard. Certainly, I think InArt has had a step down from their initial prototype to now. So the fact that this is the in-hand final product quality from Asmus, I think InArt will need to really push the quality, which is great. Right, John? We always say these figure companies are going to push each other to be better and better. And I think for better or for worse, I think Asmus has really put forth a good offering here. So we'll keep up to date on the in-art as well. But that's a photo there comparing their most current competition's prototype to their final product. I think it's also important to show Viper's. This was from, I want to say 2019, 2020. This was his handmade, the White Pilgrim is what he called it. This one retailed for I want to say it was $800. Now this one has a lot of things going for it. The accessories, from my understanding, are made in silver, actual silver metal, die-cast parts, a lifetime warranty, and each one was handmade by Viper, very limited in quantity as well. But I honestly have to say, for a mass-produced item that is about half the cost, I still have to say I think Asmus has given this a really, really good attempt. There's certainly things about the Viper figure I like much better. I think the boots are damn near perfect on Viper's figure. But looking at these two portraits side by side, I certainly like a lot about both. And I still think the Viper is my all-time Grail figure. But I think I'll be very content until I find one to have the Asmus one in the collection. But that's a look side by side between the two closest competition. The in-art Gandalf. So this is from Justin's 4K screenshot. So also the photo that I don't know how professional the photo was by Asmus. It just seemed like it was a guy just taking a photo.
No, it looks pretty clear, that Asmus one. I don't think it's I don't think it's fair to compare.
It's not fair to compare. You're absolutely right, John, because this is still a
Now,
prototype figure.
if In-Art put out a Gandalf the White, fair play.
No,
but to compare
you are
gray to
100%
white,
right. But I think I would be remiss to not at least put up every comparable release at the moment. So going forward, I don't know why the screenshot looks so blurry. It looked good on my phone, but this is I guess kind of the comparison here, and it looks terrible. I apologize for that. But this is in Viper on the left, Gandalf costume test photos in the center, and then
Viper
I guess
looks like
the
crap.
professional. So you guys can judge that as you will. I honestly think I know someone that owns the Viper, and I love Lenny. I love you, Lenny. But man, he was already trash talking this figure, and I was like, bro, there's certain things on the Viper that look really good, but I think this portrait looks a little bit better.
Viper's portrait is horrific. He actually looks like the guy who played Juggernaut in X-Men. If you guys don't know that actor, he doesn't look.
Juggernaut, bitch.
But that portrait, can you go back to the three there?
Yes.
Asmus's is much improved, but if you compare it to the movie likeness, there's still some ways to go. I'll tell you that. In the nose, in the wrinkles of the face, his face seems to be more saggy and almost swollen.
I think it depends on the scene, though. It's like anything else. A lot of it has to do with
The
lighting.
scene. I'm looking at a still from the movie.
Okay, you're looking at this. Go to the other picture where it was a guy. It was just showing the head sculpt. See how much more? No, go back. Now we're clicking too far.
The two head sculpts.
No.
God damn it,
Just
Mark.
the
Fuck, pick
individual
one.
head sculpt. Individual head sculpt.
Jesus
See
Christ.
how
No,
much
but-
more? Yeah. Now see, go back there. Look at the
Oh
face
my
there,
God.
and then show the next one. You see the different details. A lot of it has to do with lighting. I'm just looking at the sculpt. That nose.
Yeah, but it
that
still looks
nose,
like the
it looks
swollen
like-
face.
I
You can see
I
the
think it looks great.
textures and the you can see
Here,
the
let me-
textures and the
tell you
skin
what, let me-
pigmentation, but
Well,
the
the
sculpt
Viper
is still
one,
there.
the Viper one looks like he got hammered enough. His liver's not working. I understand.
Yeah,
No,
the
it doesn't
Viper
look-
one
it
looks
doesn't even
atrocious.
look
We're
like
not
him.
arguing that, but that's not the Viper one is a custom. That's has nothing to say with anything.
But the in-art one's the same. Looks the same. The in-art one looks like he put on 30 pounds.
What are you
If
talking
you're
about?
if you're talking about the wrinkles on the face,
But why are we comparing Gandalf the White to Gandalf the Grey?
I
the
think
same-
it's
Compare
important to
Gandalf the
because
Grey to Gandalf the Grey, and the inner one demolishes the Asmus one.
I think it's important to show a 2022.
Let me say, I gotta
company-
change my earphones.
I think it's important. Oh, he's tactically reloading here. I think it's important. I'll let him get that situated because I don't know if he can hear me. But I do think it's important, for better or for worse, to compare a current product to a current product, right? I think that is important. So let me get this queued up here.
I mean, really, I don't know what in-art's product looks like though, because we saw a review of a product where they still wouldn't say whether it was a
Can you hear us, John?
prototype or not. No, he can't hear us.
All right, we'll get him here. In a
I
second.
just don't. John is a very honest person, but whenever it comes to Asmus and in-art, it's like you know, I don't know. I don't know what Asmus ever did to hurt him. You know, I don't know if he has problem trusting people. But then Inart comes around, and I don't know if it's like the new chick in class or what. But
Can you hear us, John? I don't think you can hear us. So this is a different photo here, a little bit more high quality image, and I apologize for the blurriness earlier, but I still think that this is a solid attempt, right? For a $380 figure, you got to think 120 of that could be diverted to the horse. I got to say, I think I'm very happy with what I'm seeing here.
no matter what anybody can say, even John, the first time they saw the head sculpt for Asmus, there's no way they thought, "Oh, that's the Asmus figure." You
No,
know,
I
everybody's
legitimately-
first instinct is Inart. So then, as soon as somebody says, "Oh, that's Asmus," then all of a sudden it's, "Oh, well, that's an inferior piece of shit product or whatever." I'm like, "Come on, man! You know, we got to call it like we see it a little bit here." Now, does it look just like Ian McKellen as the actor? Exactly, no. But how many Hot Toys where it's like, oh, it looks like, or let's say it looks like Tony Stark, but it doesn't look like Robert Downey Jr. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
it's
understand. Could it be better?
70,
Yes.
80%.
But
Can
to
you hear us,
me,
John?
Yeah.
I think it looks.
Okay.
I think it looks.
Look
That
at
was
that.
way better than I could have imagined it looking.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you 100%. Where no one's denying here that Asmus didn't step up to the plate. They stepped up to the plate, and you got a Gandalf that's for the price. But it is still. I want to hold everyone's hand to the flame of the candle that were speaking up when Inart came out with their Gandalf, because you're hitting the same situation, but I'm not hearing the same comparisons. I'm not hearing the pitchforks and.
Sorry, no, go ahead, Zach.
I think my point is still, my reasoning is, Asmus had released this, right? It's not like this is in development. So for them to recall and delay this on the day of release,
Yeah, but you should still hold them accountable. Hello.
Not only that,
Oh, I've messaged them. So behind the scenes, we've been messaging them to confirm what level of research they did on the project. So with the textile work, if they had access to the original props for the staff, we're hopefully going to get all those answers soon. They said that they were going to ask their designer for all of those, because I do think you are 100% right. If it is possible to do a running change in the production, I think that would be for the best. I don't think we're gonna get the shoes running change, but
The staff is my big bugaboo.
yeah.
The horsehair.
Well, the horsehair, we don't know how big of an issue that is, right? When people get them in hand and we can see if it can be easily futzed, we'll know for sure.
I'm just
We'll know-
holding them
we'll know
accountable
Friday.
for the photos they sent us. That's it.
I will say,
but when you say you hold them accountable, you're coming off very like
I'm co-
like they're on
He's a
trial
bully.
here.
Of course,
Yeah.
I'm gonna help, just like you did when Inart showed Gandalf.
hey, I will say
well-
this. I will say this. Hold
Come on, Mark.
I
Come on.
think
Yeah.
I think when Inart showed off their shit, still have you really yet to come out with a product.
Exactly.
But for Asmus to come out and show this day one, it's in stock. It's
That's what
like,
you're getting.
okay, well, Asmus has released figures before. We know what to expect, and this exceeds it even more than what we're kind of expecting. There's a little more leeway, right? Like,
But also, Asmus has never set that expectation with us. Like, hey, obviously they've been communicating more now that Queen's been in the picture, but Asmus has never gone out and said like, hey, we want to hear feedback. We want to take your feedback into account as we develop these figures. They've, they're releasing it, and I will 100% agree with what John has always held to, that Asmus and Hot Toys have certainly changed their behavior since Inart has hit the scene. There's
100%.
like 1,000% no denying that. I think it's a shame. I 100% agree with you, John. It's a shame that we didn't have that period to critique. But I think, the cards are already in motion, right? They have shipped people's Gandalf. So we're past that point of being able to argue it. So for me, mentally, I'm like, okay, it's happened. I have it on order. It's going to be your Friday. Let's get it in hand. Let's critique it to that same level.
Yeah.
And people just want to know from us, do we give it a pass? You should order it, or do you give it a don't order it?
At this price point for the representation, I would say, from what I'm seeing here, I would order it. I would order it without a doubt, just for what you're getting out of the box. I think it's worth it. But
and
I'm
for
just
full disclosure, two things. This is about 436 shipped from Asmus, so shipping was I think $55 $56. There's no tax because we're not dealing with an American company. The in-art Gandalf was $535 shipped to $550 depending on where you got it. Again, no tax. Sideshow will be carrying this, but with tax and shipping, you're only saving about $7 buying it from Sideshow, and that does not include any VAT import charges if you're in Canada. So realistically, if you have the money and you want to get this sooner than later, I would recommend going through Asmus. Again, you're only going to pay about $7 more. However, Big Bad Twister also does have it, $4 shipping, so you'll save a little bit of money there under Sideshow as well. And of course, as this becomes available to more retailers that order the Gandalf the Grey, you might be able to get some of these deals we're always talking about. In fact, if I can get a good deal on a second one, if it turns out good, we get a hand turns out good, I would strongly consider a second version to have one on Shadowfax and one not.
I have to agree.
I think
Even the beard.
you don't like the beard?
I think the color, the rooting, perfection. But the shape, the way it was cut, it's going to need to be futzed as well. Like I said,
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
And
Now, full disclosure, for the unboxing, I may not be water treating it. It depends. Technically, this is a Christmas gift, so I'm going to open it and show it off for you guys. Then I think I have to box it back up. But we will do a very thorough. I asked John if it comes in on Friday. Do we have
of course,
your
yeah.
blessing to go live on Friday? I know that's a club day. He said yes. Now, FedEx, the way they have it set up, they only deliver on the weekdays. So if it's not Friday, it should be Monday. And I also asked John that if it arrives Monday, we'll clear out. Normally we do 3 or 4 unboxings a night. We'll do a whole stream just on this. Now, I do have the first Asmus Gandalf. It's kind of customized, so it's not really a good reference. I have the crown that has one tiny customization on it. And I have 2 1/6 scale horses, so it'll be a very thorough review, to be honest. I also have the 1-to-1 scale prop staff, so we can compare that as well. So if you guys like Gandalf or like very specific, very esoteric Gandalf discussions, whatever that stream will be, we're going to get into the minutia.
Yeah, hopefully I
All
can,
up in the minutia.
Hopefully I'll be invited.
Mark, a fucking
Mark,
course,
you
bro.
will be there. I already told you to clear your schedule.
Aw.
Now, does anyone on the panel have anything they want to add before we move on? I think this has been a very spirited discussion. I think John has had a ton of great points. I'm very excited.
But with Gandalf the White, a lot of people think of Gandalf the Grey, more so even though, but the Gandalf the White, he was 2 whole movies, and he was in the Battle of Helm's Deep as Gandalf the White, and he, was at the Pelennor Fields battle and at the Black Gate battle. So he had scenes where he was like straight up clean, when he had the reveal, and then also like when they were sailing to the Undying Lands and stuff like that. So that's another reason that, like, let's say if you are somebody like Zach, to get 2 Gandalfs, because there will be one you want to kind of futz and have a little bit of battle damage. So in some ways, maybe some people like the cleaner version. I don't know. Not saying that they should have came out with 2 different versions, but he gets a lot of wear and tear in that white suit.
Is
Mark,
this a magnetic base or is this
No, this is a
crotch
grabber.
grabber?
Yeah, it's a
Crotch grabber? Okay.
But to be honest, this is an Asmus concern. Their ankle joints aren't always like super firm, so I'm kind of glad it wasn't magnetic because that shit would fall apart. To Mark's point, he made a great comment there. Asmus has stated there will only be 1 version of this figure, so you're not getting a second version, a slim without the horse. It's either buy this one or don't. This is a part of their Crown series, so this is supposed to be like their very premium line. The more I think about it, I think we might water treat it live, and I'll just let it fully dry before I rebox it.
You gonna get the steamer out?
I don't think I will need the steamer. I think I need to actually just dunk the fabric in water. I think that's probably what would be better. 'Cause
And
it's
also,
not the wrinkles that are concerning me.
was
I think
it
it's
you-
more-
You're going to unbox it first and then do all this treatment?
I'll do it all live. Just
Oh, wow.
right at the
And
same
real
time.
quick, Zach, you said this. They said this was the 3rd in the Crown series line.
Yeah, I was a bit
That's
confused.
confusing.
Okay, so on the website it says LOTR 003, but on the box it says 002. So I think that may have just been a mistype on the website.
Okay.
Let's move on. So we'll mark this as 136.10. I need to see when this segment started. but-
46.52.
Wait, what?
It started at 46.52.
Oh, okay. Thank you, John. You are an absolute angel.
but this
I'm gonna